Hello. Welcome, guys. The Construction Monk here. This is another Wednesday video, a pop-up podcast, actually. And you know what we do here, right? I take a meme with a theme and we talk about it. And these memes come out of conversations I have with God usually. Sometimes I'm reading scripture, sometimes it's other things that can spur these thoughts, but it's almost always how I take these things back to God, things I'm thinking about, wrestling with, engaging with, and God and I talk about them. And this is what it means to be a mystic, a contemplative. I think this is what it means to be a Christian, that we are in constant conversation with God throughout our day about everything, right? That's my prayer, is that everything I do would be in concert with the Spirit of God. And so I hope that that comes through. And that's where these memes come out of. And today's pop-up podcast meme is along the theme of status. So let's go ahead and get into the conversation and the meme. All right? Cool. So today's meme is really simple. I didn't have to write it down in my book, so I can't be tapping and rapping on my book to distract you. It's really simple. It's 3 words. Saint over celebrity. Let me say it again. Saint over celebrity. Well, what do I mean? What is that about? We live in a celebrity-crazed culture. It's interesting, in my master's degree, I studied Greco-Roman culture, and even 3,000 years ago in Greece and Rome, they had actors and they had plays, right? And it was a similar phenomenon that the actors, there were popular actors, there were more popular actors in these plays. And those actors also had a lot of celebrity status, and people were interested in their personal lives, and of course they couldn't, interact with them like we can. There weren't magazines and newspapers and TV shows, right? But there was the general water cooler gossip about the most popular actors of the day, even in Greece and Rome. And so that's interesting, and I was thinking about that in terms of this conversation, which, we've always had a fascination with public figures, whether it's an actor or a political figure or a musician or a sports person, a really popular athlete or a very accomplished athlete, or even accomplished businessmen, wealthy people. Like, we do have a desire to iconoclast, you could say, people, to kind of lift people up on a pedestal as examples. And we can tend to gravitate towards certain kinds of people, especially the people that may typify the things we're trying to do or get to, right? So if you're interested in acting, you might gravitate towards a popular actor. If you're more interested in writing, you might gravitate towards popular writers. If you're more interested in politics, you might gravitate towards a popular politician. If you're an entrepreneur, right, you might be interested in Elon Musk or Warren Buffett, right, and what they have to say. And so there is actually a good impetus in vaulting and elevating certain people culturally as examples to look up to, right? This is what we call the hero or the role model, right? It's good to have good role models culturally, and these people have become legends and icons, and they kind of occupy the space of the heroic in a sense, like, and they can become urban legend, right? It's like, I think in science, one of the most modern iconic individuals was Einstein. Albert Einstein, there's a lot of urban legends about Albert Einstein. It's a fun one, is that he learned how to transport matter like a teleporter and like teleportation in Star Trek, right? And one of the stories is that what they couldn't do was transport matter and people, and that there was this urban legend that he was working with the military and they were trying to transport Navy vessels from one place to another, and they did this experiment with like a skeleton crew, and when they transported it, the skeleton crew was like melded into the ship. Like these are urban legends and stories that develop around iconic people, right? And there's a fun element to it. But there's a real practical purpose. We need role models to look up to emulate, to encourage us upward in our own journey, right? Like we're all trying to get to a better place. We're all trying to improve ourselves in one way or another, and it's good to have good role models. But the truth is, the kind of celebrity status that we crave in today's hyper social media culture is in great part negative and empty. It's like these are social media influencers, right? And people that go viral, and it's like, and people that are like trying to create that YouTube channel with all the followers so they can get the ads and make a living. And it's like Mr. Beast is I think still the most watched YouTuber, right? And that guy, you know, my kids are interested in him, right? The guy is iconic, right? He's so well known, but what does he really do? His whole game is to try to get people to watch his videos so that he can make money, so that he can make more videos. And he's building an audience simply for the sake of building an audience. It's very self-serving. Like, I don't know the man personally. I know that more recently he's had a newer interest in trying to do good things with his channel. But it started out him just wanting to make money, build a following to make money, to draw people to himself for the sake of his own interests, right? This is not why the place of celebrity or role model exists. I should not be drawing people to myself for my own sake. That is, because then what am I modeling? That you should draw people to yourself for your own sake. Self-centeredness. Like, this is the opposite of everything that Jesus taught. He said you must deny yourself if you want to find your life. Self-denial is the opposite of self-interest, right? To be self-centered is the opposite of selflessness. Selflessness should be at the top, or one of the things at the top of the people we emulate. Our role models should be selfless people, and so they should be modeling selflessness. This is what Jesus modeled, and the ultimate example of that was Jesus on the cross. He was like, I'll even give my whole freaking life, my very life, so that you could have a better life. That is the ultimate hero. And if you look at the hero story, you know, Joseph Campbell in more modern times has wrote about this, but this is a paradigm and a reoccurring theme throughout Greco-Roman culture, Western culture, is the hero journey is the person who takes a journey of self-discovery, but the ultimate kind of apex of their story and their journey is that they choose to sacrifice their own life and their own good for the greater good. And I think that is the epitome of what we should all be reaching for. Like, if we were all giving of ourselves to others so that others could have it better, and then others were doing that for us, that is the basis of community, right? And so we should desire role models that are emulating a selflessness, because if everybody was more selfless and less self-centered, that would be really good, right? But yet the celebrity mentality of modern times is look at me, look at me, look at me, like be interested in me. Aren't I interesting? Look at me. You know, it's drawing attention to yourself for the sake of yourself. And I write music. I'm very interested in music, and it's very disparaging to me to hear song after song after song that is basically look at me, look at me, look at me. You know, I'm talking about my sex life, and I'm talking about whether people think I'm cool, and I'm talking about how cool I am, and it's me, me, me. And like, if our role models are me, 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 and then that's going to tell us, well, I should be about me, and I should just bend everything within my power and within my affluence and ability and skills and everything. I should bend everything to the purpose of getting people to focus on me. Why? Well, the lie is that we think the more attention we get, the better we might feel about ourselves. Like, if everybody loved us, wouldn't we feel better about ourselves? That is what we think. And that is what celebrity status sells. It's like if everybody was more focused on you, you'd feel better and you'd have a lot more things coming to you, right? People would venerate you and your life would be better. Well, that's actually the opposite of the truth. It's a bastardization of the whole idea and ideal of role model. And so that's at least modern celebrity status. And I think that's been kind of the core of celebrity status is look at me and aren't I so interesting and everybody should focus on me. And that can trickle its way into politics and into whatever, business, right? That mentality. But how is a saint different than a celebrity? And why should we desire to be a saint over a celebrity? A saint is someone who is seeking to reach a higher level of self-consciousness, of selflessness, a higher level of consciousness, sorry, not self-consciousness, a higher level of consciousness where they actually are less self-conscious, where they're actually leaving behind the focus of self and they're becoming selfless and more other-focused. And Jesus said, love your enemies, do good to those who persecute you. He said, Paul in some of his letters said, consider others as better than yourself. Like, don't only look to your own needs, look to the needs of others. And it's like, actually, in our culture, if someone said, hey, you should seek the good of others over yourself, people would be like, that is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Why would that be good? If I seek the good of others over myself, well, isn't that self-debasing? Well, it would be if nobody else was doing that. Then I'd be giving, and nothing's coming to me. But in practical terms, guys, most of the things we really need that fill us and fulfill us, love, community, those aren't things you can get by focusing on yourself, right? It's the opposite. Like, community is created by the very action of leaving behind a self-focus and focusing on others. Like, why want to be in relationship with others? So am I going to try to draw people to me? Hey guys, you should be my friend. It's not really going to draw people. That's not how it works. Like, this is a funny little antidote for this idea, but it's like, what's the best vitamin for friendship? Be one. Be one. Be a friend. Be a good friend, and you will make good friends, and you will attract similar people who are trying to be a good friend to you. And that's the crazy thing, right? When you turn it around and you go, hey, I want good friends, then people are like, well, yeah, so do I. Me too, buddy. Get in line. Like, we all want people to do good to us. So who's the person that's going to do good to others that we're all looking for as we focus on ourselves? Like, if everybody's self-focused and looking for someone to not be self-focused, to focus on them, right? Do you get what I'm saying? It's like, that's the dumbest thing ever. Why don't we all focus on everybody trying to focus on us? And then we're all just focused on ourselves. And then everybody's empty and nobody's getting the community love and real genuine attention that they need, which is given very altruistically, right? You want people to focus on you because they genuinely want to, because they're genuinely interested in you, not because you like grab their attention and, force them to you. This is like relational rape, right? It's like, I'm going to force you to love me and to be focused on me. Well, that, obviously that doesn't work. And so what you find in the celebrity status culture is an ever heightened need to create more and more interest in yourself. And it's like, what's the next biggest crazy thing I can do? I saw this, gosh, I don't even remember her name, but it was an interview with this girl. And she's like the bad girl in British music, on the British music scene right now. And she's just like doing all this crazy stuff. And she's just shot to stardom. And there's a scene, there's a clip with her, and she's with Elton John at some kind of awards show, and she's drinking a bottle. She's half drunk already, and he's talking about how he can snort her under the table. And they're both just talking about how they're the badass in the room, and they're the bigger celebrity, right? Well, is that what we're all about? We're just trying to draw people to ourselves, and we have to create more and more interest and do more and more elaborate things and more crazy things and more stupendous things. And then where's the ceiling? Well, what next crazy thing are you going to do and to get people to draw their attention to you, to outdo the person next to you with the other YouTube channel who's doing this, right? I mean, it creates this hyper tense, kind of anxious, like hyper energized kind of state where we're all just, and you can't maintain that, and eventually it does lead to anxiety, and it does lead to this sense of like everything's trying to compete for my attention and I'm overwhelmed. And then no wonder our society has so much mental illness and mental health. And combine that with the fact that we're not engaging in genuine relationship where people genuinely care about us, and we're just like looking to form bonds and relationships and community around people that really just want to know us, and we don't have to perform and do the dance to get them focused on us. And so, right? So what does it mean to be a saint? The first thing that it means is that I'm not about people focused on me. I'm about focusing on others. It's an other focus. It's a selflessness. A saint is someone who's like, I want to improve myself to be the kind of person that doesn't need the attention all the time, but I can give my attention to others. A saint is someone who is becoming more and more holy, more and more like God. God is a infinite flow of giving. Like, God never comes and says, I'm going to give you love, but I do need to be loved as well. God is as Aristotle said, the unmoved first lover, but he's also the unloved first lover. I like that idea, the unloved first lover. Like, God is like, I in no way need anything from you. I have everything for you. And when we get into a relationship with God, we realize, holy crap, this is a person that needs nothing from me. I can like totally relax, be myself, speak my mind. It's like total honesty, total opaqueness, total vulnerability, total authenticity. It's like I can be myself. And this dude, God, is like not trying to get anything from me, take anything from me. He doesn't need anything from me. He's just so much in love with me because he just loves me, because he just thinks I'm lovable, and because that's who he is, and he doesn't need to get anything from me or doesn't want anything from me. He just wants to be with me and spend time with me. And a saint is someone who's venturing into that paradigm with God, and then they become that kind of energy for others, where they're like, I don't need anything from you. I'm not trying to get anything from you. This isn't like scratch my back, I'll scratch yours, and so I'm only going to love you if you love me well, and this tit for tat reciprocity, right? It is genuinely a person who's like, I am here, I'm going to be with you no matter what you're doing to me. I'm going to love you. I'm going to say the hard things because I'm not going to be worried about whether or not you're doing what I want. I'm not going to be worried about whether you're retreating and withdrawing your love from me, because that's not why I'm here. Like, when you can be in relationship with people and you're not super freaked out about whether they're going to be continuing to meet your needs. And so like, that's when you can start to go, relax. I'm not so desperate for them to love me and so fearful about the relationship and whether or not they're going to like withdraw, because I'm good, because I'm being filled by the source of heaven, the divine. And I'm so stabilized and grounded in this divine flow of love and everything I need, hope and goodness. Like the fruits of the Spirit are love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control, right? The fruits of a relationship with God are love, goodness, peace, joy. Like, I'm getting all these things from God, who never is like, well, I'm going to start to withdraw because I didn't like that you did that. And no. God's an infinite source of all we need. When we get in that flow, we become that flow for others, and then we draw them into that same flow. Like, a saint is never drawing people to themselves because they know they don't actually have anything good to give. We have a limited flow of all things: love, attention, energy. If I draw people to myself, I'm trying to be a celebrity, but I have really nothing in me more than anybody else to give. I'm actually trying to get things from people, but they have needs, and they're seeking something from me for themselves, and we're all doing this, and like, it's a breakdown, and it's like everybody's actually starving more and more and more for attention when all we want to do is get attention for ourselves. But God's like, man, guys, I can tell you, the more I've gotten in tune with the heart of God, the more I feel God's presence and his love and his attention towards me, gosh, this is the more I've been healed of my ache and my brokenness and my need for love and my need to be seen. And like, I am becoming so much more and more content in the love of God for me. And it fills me up every day. I wake up, I talk with God, we spend the day together. I'm so energized and jazzed and so renewed and refreshed simply by the attention and the heart of God towards me. And it's something that I feel. I feel it in my emotions. I feel it in my thoughts. I feel it in my body. I feel the presence of the Holy Spirit in my body and my thoughts, and I feel it, and it's so fulfilling and filling, and I feel so filled up all the time by this person that doesn't need anything from me, isn't requiring that I jump through any hoops to get his love and attention and time, has a limitless amount of those things, and just wants to be with me. And that, man, that's what it means to become a saint. Someone who becomes or is becoming more and more and more caught up in the presence of God and filled up by the presence of God, who then can turn around and take that into the world. But it's like they're just becoming a conduit through which God's love flows. And so there's this infinite source of God through a finite source of a person. That is a saint in the world, not drawing people to themselves for their own sake so that they can get their needs met, but a person who's like, no, my needs are met. God will supply all my needs. You know, Christ said, seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these other things will be given to you. What are all those other things? He talks about some of those things. Do not worry about your life, what you will eat, what you will wear. You know, God knows you need these things. Like, look how he clothes the grass of the field and the birds of the air. And like, God takes such care in the world to provide the need of everything, like ants, birds, foxes, right? Flowers. None of these things are like trying to start a YouTube channel to draw attention to themselves to get their needs met, because all of creation except humans know instinctively that their needs are going to be met by God, and God is their creator, and they are fine, and they don't need to do anything other than be themselves because they're sustained. They know that there's an instinctual, natural flow to all of creation, an ebb and flow in the flow of God's love and presence and life-giving presence. But humans, we are stuck in a brokenness. And there's two different ways and two different kingdoms through which we can meet that need and try to resolve that brokenness, right? The kingdom of the world and the principles of the world are more caught up in celebrity status and how I can vault myself above others and how I can rise the corporate ladder or the social ladder or be the biggest person in the room, you know, the most interesting person in the room. There's an older book, I think maybe it's Norman Vincent Peale or no, it's not him, but someone wrote a book about how to win friends and influence people. But there's a newer book about, it's like, that's what it was. It's like how to be the most interesting person in the room. And I was like, I saw that and I was like, pass. If we're all trying to be the most interesting person in the room, then nobody is there in the room to give anybody else attention but themselves, right? That's an empty room full of people. And I think that's where we are in culture. Like, everybody is so maddened by this hyper craziness to try to draw attention to themselves because they feel such a lack of attention. We're all starving for relationship and community and love. I can't remember, I'll have to look this up later, but there's this newer phenomenon on YouTube and social media where it's just these people doing these noises. It's like licking or even the noise of fixing tea, and other people are listening to these noises and it's soothing to them. I was reading about this. At first I thought it was more sexual, but because, you know, licking and there's some of those are more sexually oriented. But then I was reading, it's like, it's much broader. It can be someone clipping their nails or cutting hair. It's like all these just almost mundane sounds that people are finding soothing. And I was thinking about that, and I was thinking, well, gosh, why would that be? Because we're starved for the normal sounds of interaction with others. If you want to listen to somebody fixing tea, and that's soothing to you, that's a deep spiritual and psychological need that's not being met. Because why? Because you're so isolated in yourself, alone. And even the normal sounds of just another person in the room doing something around you, you're missing, right? And so YouTube can fill that gap, but it's a superficial source. We need real relationships with real people who really care about us and for whom we can really care. Well, that's a saint. A saint is someone who understands that this is not a human paradigm. If we're all broken and in need, and needing love and attention, damn, we're screwed if there's not a God who has all of that for us, no matter, without cost, right? Isaiah, come all you who are hungry, who are thirsty, buy, drink without cost. I don't have this one looked up. It's been a while since I've read this, so I'm paraphrasing and poorly so. But he's like, are you hungry? Are you thirsty? Come to God and buy without cost water and drink, and you will be satisfied. This is God's offer to every single person. It's like, you don't have to do anything. There's no cost here. It's free. God just loves the hell out of you and wants to spend time with you. And this is the true source of what we need: attention, love. And then as we get energized by that divine infinite source, we get filled up and overflowing into others around us. And then when people start to recognize those individuals who are saints, who aren't trying to draw people to themselves as in the celebrity mentality, but they're saints who are trying to be a giving flow to others, like, people will be attracted to that. And this is what the church is meant to be. Unfortunately, the church has also got caught up in some ways in the celebrity mentality of trying to draw attention to itself instead of being a giving flow of love to others. And of course, the common and probably appropriate critique of the church is that it is not loving anymore. It's simply just another social institution trying to attract people to itself for its own purposes, just like anybody else, right? And that's not necessarily true on the individual level, individual local churches or individual Christians, but in general, the church has just become another institution caught up in more in the celebrity mentality than the saint mentality. So, why don't we stop? Who is going to be the person or the group of people that's like, you know what? I'm done with this. I'm going to try to move towards God's idea of being a saint. I'm no longer going to try to draw attention to myself and get my needs met and force and, cajole and manipulate. I'm going to turn around and I'm going to start to look first to God for that source. And as I get filled with that divine source of love through the Holy Spirit, then I can breathe that out. I breathe it in from God. I breathe it out into the world. Becomes the way. I breathe in the world. I breathe in God. I breathe out God. And other people feel the overflow and the exhale of God in me and through me. And that is what it means to be a saint over a celebrity. Amen. Hey guys, thanks for listening. This has been a Construction Monk podcast in video form, even though a podcast is typically just an audio. I'm calling these podcasts, deal with it. I am your host, J. Randall Stewart. You can catch more content at www.moderncontemplative.com. You can see what else I'm doing there. Keep up to date with me. I do release a newsletter on the 7th of every month now. I've just gotten into that and just released my second one. Hey guys, thanks for listening. I hope that stirs something in you and encourages you. Stop to draw back from that energy of trying to get and me, and start to sometimes before we can get to something else, we need to stop doing the thing that's keeping us from that other thing, right? So that's my encouragement to you, is draw back from all those auxiliary superficial things that are really encouraging you to focus on yourself and get others to focus on you. And so push that to the edge of your life and then start to create some space And then look for ways you can start to really have genuine conversations with people and interactions with people around you. So that's my encouragement, is like start to draw back from the superficial, empty forms of trying to meet those needs and start to create the space for more genuine relationship to happen. All right, guys. Thanks. Love you. And now, I'm going to just chill right here and smoke my pipe.
Something more, if you would just stay here for a while. Just look in my eyes. There's more to us than we can show, and I think you know.